Our Dark Souls Remastered review exploring the question, should you buy Dark Souls Remastered? We played it all, made a bunch of videos, updated the wiki, and are now ready to tell you what we think about the recent release. You may be surprised to find out our initial impressions were a bit off the mark. Story and setting. The game has made no changes regarding story and setting from the original release. This is, at its core, a graphic and cleanup update to the game that enables newcomers to the series to experience the original offering, while modernizing it in the most minimalistic way possible. For those who have never played Dark Souls before, the story sets the stage for the trilogy, a cyclic world that is slowly progressing towards ultimate darkness from whence it came. You and others struggle, perhaps pointlessly, to bring about another dawn. But you may find that not all is told to your character as it seems, and will have opportunities to make choices accordingly. The truly unique experience of Souls is that of the story is not told by exposition, but rather available only to those searching for it and willing to spend the time and effort mapping item descriptions and discerning truths from lies in every NPC dialogue available. If you let the promise of a glorious knighthood for a sun princess distract you, the unsavory truth of Gwendolyn's reality may pass you by. If you fail to explore areas thoroughly, you may never meet Priscilla or learn of her world. Dark Souls Remastered successfully delivers the original story and stays true to its setting, except that souls are now a shiny hue of blue. Lore enthusiasts will surely have a field day with this one. Design, visual, and audio. The project had some back and forths in the development, and some features were ultimately dismissed, including HDR. But this remaster is in the end mostly about the graphics. And here is where the opinions of players will radically differ and the most controversy will lie. An important thing to note before going into this is that there are two really distinct camps for this game. Console players versus PC players. As I played on console, my opinion will be from a console player's point of view. The world of Dark Souls is fantastically designed, and that has not changed, but now we can see it is in much sharper resolution in our larger screens. I have actually enjoyed looking at the higher resolution icons for the items and discerning things that were not quite visible before, but the place where the remastered shined the most for me was on the enemies. Better textures and better animations meant that the bosses and enemies with their details and qualities acquired an enlarged presence. I was honestly surprised to find a renewed interest in even the frog ray, and I increasingly noticed details on each boss encounter that I had not quite seen in the thousands of hours I had spent with the original. You will not be blown away by the graphics, and areas with small corridors or even the distant objects in the forest may feel rather underwhelming. This is because seeing a higher resolution render of a low pixel design simply sharpens the fact that the base design is simplistic. You will, however, notice an overall improvement to the general atmosphere as lighting has been reworked to deliver more impactful scenes and make your own character better defined. You will absolutely notice the FPS difference and the performance. Blighttown is no longer lagfest, and the many rolls in the toxic swamp can be precise and calculated. All animations being smoother also means you may notice some more enemy detail, such as the Taurus demon's hair move. Eerie. Recent remasters like Dragon's Dogma, Skyrim, and Shadows of the Colossus have set the bar extremely high. And even if Dark Souls Remastered doesn't quite reach the level of quality, it is good enough to captivate the player. You often don't notice anything is amiss when playing, which I think speaks volumes by itself, because you are playing a PlayStation 3 game on a PlayStation 4 after all. While the environments themselves will most likely not stand out to the would-be hollow re-experiencing London again, they will surely notice the difference in enemies and bosses, which have been given a lot of tender love and care. It's easy to see the negatives in the Dark Souls Remastered, mostly because we have been spoiled with games like Assassin's Creed Origins, God of War, and we no longer see things objectively. We've become so accustomed to insane graphics that we cannot tolerate anything less than perfection, and Dark Souls Remastered is not perfect. However, you may have forgotten how it looked before compared to it now. Some advice for those on PC who may feel this is not a real improvement over the freely available official mod Dark Souls Fix. The issues that Dark Souls Fix introduced are reportedly nowhere to be seen in the official upgrade. Alongside this, other improvements to the remastered related gameplay are likely to have more weight in your experience than graphics could, so give everything due consideration. Gameplay. Dark Souls is indeed all about the gameplay. In this regard, there's little that Namco could have done to improve the original game that they haven't done by releasing Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. It is entirely possible that many veterans will find it shocking just how slow everything is for this title, and perhaps gain a wholly new appreciation of the quality of life upgrades that the time has brought us. Specifically, rolling in more than 4 directions in later Souls games would have been a nice addition here. That said, even though the majority of the pillars of gameplay remain unchanged, there are differences to how combat plays out. First of all, the frame rate makes a huge difference when playing, as you are no longer guessing your swings but can see them precisely. This is a very important element of combat for me, and one that feels like a new experience. Besides the several quality of life improvements, including some of such as covenant swapping at bonfires that I'm not entirely thrilled about, there are several fixes for known exploits that have been deployed, although we will not list them here as those exploits are still present on the original game. This might be addressed with a patch, but as it was not fixed as of publishing. One glaring issue we would like to note in this section is that there seems to be some problem with input and delay. Occasionally you'll press a button like attack or roll and nothing happens, but then 2 to 5 seconds later, you pull off the animation without having pressed anything else. I'm specifically referencing offline gameplay here, not online where lag might be a factor. It happens often enough that it can be frustrating, and I have also verified that it's happening to other players. Hopefully this gets fixed soon, or I foresee many unhappy players. Last but not least, the most noticeable gameplay changes relate to multiplayer. Being able to rejoin the fray of the launch day's Souls for one of my favourite titles with even more participants is a blast. I had no trouble summoning other players and could get constant and fast action offering my services for hire. I also took full advantage of the new password system to aid fellow reviewers that needed my help or wanted to test some trade mechanics. The enhanced experience made Dark Souls feel fresh and engaging, and the more I played, the more I wanted to keep playing, just like old times. Should you buy Dark Souls Remastered? Remasters, remakes, and reboots are a divisive proposition at the best of times. I am personally not opposed to them and only interested if I get something out of it, such as a modernised experience. For me, Dark Souls Remastered is worth the price based chiefly on the opportunity to re-experience Dark Souls, but in 4K from a new platform with a revitalised multiplayer. PC players who believe the graphics upgrade is lackluster can consider the accommodation that their price is only $20 and arrive at a conclusion on the worthiness of the purchase based on their online play. Dark Souls Remastered may not be perfect, and I must admit I went into it with some degree of worry, but the magic of the game is too strong and you will feel the nostalgia wash over you. Bandai Namco successfully pulled off this remaster somehow, some way, and I don't think you will truly understand until you play yourself. I cannot wait for May 25th to see what you all think. For those who started with Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne, Dark Souls 3, or have never played Souls, the remaster is an unmissable experience that they should not pass up on. The original Dark Souls will open your eyes to how this all started, and hopefully fill the gap until we get some other title to scratch that Souls itch.